Today is June 6th. The Bucs get a series win against the Dodgers. PNC Park was rocking in the middle of the week this week. The Allegheny Electric Company was on display for all to see, but this team's not better, right? You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
Oh, not much, man. It's always good to get a series victory against the freaking Dodgers.
against the right? Los Angeles freaking Dodgers. I don't know if you saw the Alana Rizzo clip this week.
I missed that one.
Missed that one. Yeah. She said, I get it. Paul Skenes, whatever. He's been in the league for 10 days, and you're the frickin' Dodgers. How mad she was that they couldn't hit him.
Yeah. I'm gonna start off on Skenes real quick. There's got to be something about his delivery or something, because people throw 101. People throw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And people get lit. It's got to come out of his hand. Like, he's got to be deceptive with it, too, because he just throws it down the middle and they can't touch it. It's impressive. It's crazy to me. It's fun to watch. That first at bat against Mookie Betts to open the game was hilarious. Like, I was laughing out loud.
And that's Mookie Betts.
He threw a Frisbee in there to strike him out. And Betts is like, what?
Yeah, he did. There was a couple times in that game that there were some looks.
And I honestly think they kind of exploited Shohei. I mean, dude can't hit a high fastball.
I think that's...
Dude can't hit 100 high. Like, which...
He did.
Was it 100?
It was 100. He took it to dead center.
You can't throw it 4 times, I guess.
Yeah. Well, okay, so did you hear Shohei's comments at the end? Okay, so they asked him, is it the velocity or whatever, and he said no. And he said that there is a delivery thing, that the way the ball comes out, it's deceptive or whatever. So yeah, I mean, you're there. At least from what Ohtani said. Ohtani's been scuffling a little bit coming into this series.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit there. I mean, that was the whole, piece of it. But, I mean, lived up to the billing. The 3 straight pitches over 100 for strikeouts, the first time that's happened since StatCast or something like that.
Sheesh.
Of 3, hold on, it was 3 pitches, 100 or more, all swing and miss.
Yeah.
All 3. Like just 3, that whole thing together. First time that's happened. But then Ohtani comes right back and takes him to dead center, which was just, I mean, that is full everything you wanted to see as a baseball fan, right? Not as a Pirates fan. You would rather him get struck out every time. But as a baseball fan and as the baseball world watching this scenario, just about everything that you would want. Here we go. Okay, so we're getting our comments on the live stream for the listeners. Pit City What's in the chat already. Dodgers think they're special with a $300 million payroll. Try winning with $80 million, you cowards. That's good. Yeah, I mean, anytime you said this, anytime you get a series win against the Dodgers, you should be in good spirits. I understand what happened in tonight's game, in the third game. Bailey Falter, a little exposure there, maybe. I don't really know. I don't know.
It's sometimes a pitcher like Falter, if they're not 100% on, they're not very good. to boot, you put him up against a studded lineup like the Dodgers,
Who just lost 2 straight.
He's not 100% on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to take advantage of it, and that's fine. It's okay.
Well, that's a ticked off Dodgers team coming at you. And like you said, if it's any bit off, and we've actually been saying that about Falter anyway, right? The reason that you're saying, like, he has been very good and it's all very real. But anything little like that, man, and I just have a feeling that it's I wouldn't be somebody I'd want long term because of that. I feel like he has to be perfect to be good.
Yeah, and I don't put it past him to figure it out. More like he's been pretty consistent since
he has been.
You know, his first outing, right? Since the first inning of his first outing. And listen, you can't be Greg Maddux every time. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, you don't throw hard. You're crafty, and sometimes it's just a little bit off, and it's way off. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just weird.
That's
pitching for you.
We don't. I know we don't necessarily get into like every time get into like all the plays and all the stuff, but the first inning today was pretty interesting. And so Mookie Betts starts off with a base hit. Ohtani hits the line drive to right field. Olivares dives, and Mookie Betts is like, "Did he catch it? Did he not?" Right? I mean, he caught it, but did he catch it before it hit the ground? Did he not? And he's kind of bouncing back and forth. Well, the first base umpire calls him out, so Mookie goes back to first. But this is well after the ball's already been thrown in. Olivares catches the ball and just pops up. He never looks at the first base umpire. He pops up and fires that ball to second to get it in as soon as possible. So the ruling is Betts went back to first. Ohtani's out. He didn't catch the ball. It hit the ground. And Olivares never thought he caught the ball. He got up and tried to throw Betts out at second.
Yeah.
So when they review it, you know it's going to be a hit because it was a hit. But then they say that, no, Mookie Betts gets second base. If you're looking at this from Mookie's standpoint, from the base runner's standpoint, you have to say, well, the only reason he went back was because they called the play on the field an out.
Yeah.
From the fielder's standpoint, he never looked at that call. He got up and threw the ball. Mookie was confused. He would have been out at second even if he would have ran to second. So I guess it's one of those things where it could have went either way. It's a judgment call, which means it can't be right or wrong.
Yeah.
It just can't be. They could have said Ohtani's at first, Betts is out at second. They could have said, now, to be fair, I don't know if they actually, somebody at the game probably, because they just wouldn't show the replay. Did he throw the ball to second and did they catch it and touch second? Because at that case, I got to know because, well, I mean, at that point, like when was the out call made? Because Mookie was just dancing. He was like, what's the call? And by that time, the ball's already on its way in. So I think they just as easily could have called Betts out at second.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made a difference. We lost by more than one run. And the very next pitch, Freeman hit a 3-run homer. But it could have been a 2-run homer, and Nicky G's home run could have taken the lead, could have swung everything a different way. But ultimately, and I don't know to be honest, I don't even know if people are complaining about it, but I know that it was a really bizarre play. And I was watching on my phone, the game, so I was not plugged into what people were saying, but it is one of those plays that can go either way. What a bizarre thing. If the first base umpire doesn't call him out, I think they have an out on that play. I think he's thrown out at second base. But because he called him out and Betts went back, I guess if you're the guy making that call, you're probably going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really tough. Anyway, listen, not overly mad about the third game either. I mean, the Pirates scored 7 runs. Nick Gonzalez with a 2-run homer in the game. O'Neal Cruz hit an absolute, his furthest home run of his career, 462 feet. We got to hope that that's going to get him moving. 117.7, I think, off the bat. The hardest hit home run for any Pirates player in StatCast era.
Right.
2 hits for Cruz on the day. Obviously, the 3-run homer, so 3 RBIs. Gonzalez's 2-run homer was his 2 RBIs. They kind of led the team. And, boy, we really need to get more of Cruz. And I hope that that's something that's going to get him moving. We'll see, though. Jake Tellez, 2 more hits today, including a double. Yeah. So, I don't know.
He's starting to hit, and it's like, is that good or bad? It's a tough situation because you're like, oh, he's starting to hit. Now we need to hold on to him. Or do you say, oh, he's starting to hit. Now we can flip him for something.
Yeah. The problem is when you flip him, and this is the whole issue that we're running into right now. Who? You're need, right. Yeah. Unless Cruz does take off right now, and Suwinski, I think it was too short of a trip, but if Suwinski takes off, then okay. Until then, you have to give him a run. Because unless you got a left-handed power bat just hanging out somewhere, and don't throw Brandon Belt in my face. He's not there. There's a reason why no one else has signed him either. I'm just not buying that.
Yeah.
And Jake Lamb's not going to be the answer either.
No.
It's just not going to happen. So unless you're going to go out and sign Rusty Shackelford, I think he just retired. So.
What?
Aaron. Is it Aaron Shackelford?
Yeah.
Yeah. They cut him, and then he a couple weeks after that, he retired. Anyway. Great series overall. You had Jared Jones. If there was ever a time where you were like, okay, I don't really know. How's he going to keep? Man, you talk about just amped up. He was back in the hundos. We were fading away from the hundo boys a little bit. And now he's like, no, I still got it here.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew, but anyway, just an unbelievable pitcher's duel on Tuesday. It was amazing to watch. I don't know how you guys are. I love watching games like that just as much as I love the 10-9 game. I love them both. You know what I'm saying? They're for different reasons, but the pitching duel is fun. Jones even walked 3, and it did feel like that fastball, as hard as he was throwing it, maybe some command went a little off. He was able to go to the changeup a little bit. Gary and Jim had the fan forum earlier today, and Gary brought up the point of his fastball tailing real bad, and they ended up just using that.
Yeah.
And it worked. That's Holderman, Chapman, unbelievable. That was the Skenes game when Chapman went off. But Holderman, Chapman, Bednar actually looking like Holderman, Chapman, Bednar that we thought we were going to see a little bit.
Yeah.
And just an incredible game. Tyler Glasnow was awesome. You know what I mean? Yeah. He had every bit of it going.
It's one mistake to Jack.
Yeah, and he turns on it. Jack did a great job. Overall, just a really good series, good game. Skenes' game was a little bit different. I mean, you don't expect a 10-6 win, especially when I thought Skenes looked good.
Yeah.
He gave up the 3 runs, but once again, it's a 2-run homer to Ohtani and missed a pitch to Hernandez. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you mentioned this before, Jake. It's the pitch count. He's getting deep into counts a little bit too much. Sometimes with the strikeouts, the high number of strikeouts, you're going to have a high number of pitches, but even just one walk, but a lot of 3-ball counts, a lot of, just he gets through only 5, and that was 93 pitches. I mean, you weren't going to send him back out after that.
Right.
And, the bullpen, 3 runs. They were okay. It's just not a lot here. I mean, there's not a lot to go off of with this bullpen, man.
Yeah, it's been a tough run for sure. And you've seen this from Chapman, throughout his career. He has these rough spots, and when he's bad, he's bad. And it is what it is. But when he's good, man, it's electric.
Yeah, it does feel like the older he gets, like this year, that run was a little longer than what you expected to see, right? But man, 104?
Yeah.
So let's go back to the velocity, though, because you said that about Skenes earlier. How about, there it is. Chapman hit 104. We got a couple comments here. Desperately need Chapman to play better, and I think we're seeing some of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt Skirpin actually says Bailey got the hook too early tonight, so that's interesting. I can see that. I think he bounces back anyway.
Yeah.
That velocity that we're talking about, like he hit, what was it? It was like 103, 103, 104, 104, 103. But like those 104s, there was one ball, there was a foul ball, there was 103 that was fouled off. What did he strike him out on? The splitter, 94.
Mm-hmm.
Velo's not everything. It's a lot of fun. But literally, like, you still need to be able to pitch. And he ended up getting him on the splitter. And I just think that there is some of that. Like, I know that we're all excited because of the velocity and everything, but it's not everything.
No, you still have to pitch.
Speaking of pitching, let's go ahead and move on to some of the things that we can talk about this week outside of that series. Specifically, Quinn Priester going to the IL. A little oblique. Justin Brule. I already made one Steve Brule joke today. Very excited about that. And Justin Brule added to the roster. They signed him. He was let go by Louisville, the AAA club from the Reds. Dumpster diving, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever you want to call it. But, I mean, the idea is that the Dodgers just threw Yohan Ramirez and Anthony Bonda to the Pirates. So if you don't think that other teams are picking guys up like this, I don't know what to tell you. Like, even the almighty Dodgers are making moves that are similar to this type of thing. Bonda, I think, was pulled from Cleveland's AAA team. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the same thing, especially when you talk about lefties. And the Pirates have had some success with soft thrown lefties, and so maybe there's something there. I don't really know. Maybe there's not. Maybe he'll just stink and then he'll go away, and we'll say, remember that time they got that Steve Brule guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's it. But this is a little bit of a situation. Martin Perez on the injured list right now. The other guy on the 40-man is Braxton Ashcraft. He threw tonight in Double-A. He's not an option. I believe, I don't know if they've said, but I believe they're going with Luis Ortiz on Saturday. I've seen some rumblings of it. I don't know if Derek Shelton actually said this. I can check real quick to see if that's out there. It very well could be. No. Nope. Doesn't look like it.
I mean, that makes the most sense.
It does make the most sense. That's going to be a bullpen game. In a sense, I think you could probably stretch Ortiz if he does well enough into 4 innings. Outside of that, I don't know that you can really count on a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's about what he'd have to be on too.
Right. What was his, I mean, like the other night he threw what, 3 innings? You know what I mean?
So, yeah.
So like you had I think it's reasonable to say you get 3 innings out of him.
Yeah.
But if he's on, maybe you get 4. You're probably not getting 5 innings. I'd be shocked if you get 5 innings. So
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be shocked, but I'd be surprised.
I think if he
I'm not
goes
gonna go
five
as far as
innings, I
shocked.
think if he goes 5 innings, that'd be a huge moment.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I think that'd be
Be
big
huge
for that
him.
team and for
Yeah,
him.
him
Yeah,
and yeah.
that's a good call. A lot of roster moves though, Jake. I got to catch up to all these things because there was a ton of stuff. I mean, Barucki was moved to the 60-day IL to make room on the 40-man for Brule. Quinn was the 25-man, but it didn't stop there. There was more stuff this week, right? Well, Henry Davis, I mean, that's all part of it, right? Henry Davis,
Right.
Suwinski, the whole 9 yards. Well, Henry Davis we knew was coming up, but I think there was some other things that kind of happened. Taylor, the paternity list. Peguero joined the team. And then the Brule stuff today. I guess I don't have it in here, but seemed just like a lot of stuff kind of moving. Suwinski, I don't think maybe was down long enough, but I think because of the paternity list, this is just a thing that's going to happen. I don't even think he goes back down when Taylor comes back. I bet it's Peguero. Peguero's just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just interesting. A little bit interesting because of the outfield, infield. I don't know where we're sitting at right now. With outfield to infielders.
I can check real quick. You can say your point there.
But usually you outfield for outfield, infield for infielder. But if you bring back Taylor as an outfielder, send a Peguero down.
Right now you have Suwinski, Reynolds, Olivares, and Joe. But Joe's playing a lot of first.
Yeah.
So you essentially, like on the active roster, there's 4 listed and McCutcheon's one of them. And we know that Joe is also one of them. So bringing Taylor back and putting him into that mix still makes sense. You would just, because there's 8 infielders listed, one of them being Joe.
Yeah.
So I think Peguero going down, I think that gives you still that one backup infielder with Alika on the IL. And so it still gets you that same scenario where if Key is going to be not available in a game, that's where the problem comes in again.
Yeah.
Do they have an extra guy in the bullpen right now? Oh, they can't. No, they can't because you can't have more than 13 pitchers.
Right.
You can do more, that you can do less, but you can't have more than 13 pitchers.
Except for doubleheaders.
Well, but you get an extra guy.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So anyway. A lot of movement. Quinn is going to be kind of a... You would think that Perez is going to be back, not for Saturday, obviously, but for the next start after that. At least that's what I'm hearing. So if Perez is back, fine. You get through Saturday. The offense clicks. You might be able to still, come away with a win in that game. The bullpen is just beat up, man. And Heller comes in, and he's a guy that was, supposedly a fresh arm. Gives up 5 runs. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, you don't say, well, he stinks. He's going to give up 5 runs every time he hits the field. You know what I mean? That's not the case. But
right.
You're going to need to get some of those kind of guys. Some better innings, good run. I don't know. It seems like Holderman's good, Bednar's good. And then there's that, like, a lot of question marks. You think you got Chapman could be electric or it could be bad. Mm-hmm. Majinski's not there. He's just off a little bit. Stratton, I think, is maybe more along the lines of Chapman. He's been very good at times, and then not good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one I was trying to think of. Help me out here. Oh, Kyle Nicholas, who seems to be great for 2 hitters, and then and then I don't know, but he had a scoreless outing tonight, didn't he?
He needs to be the guy that gets people out of innings.
But see, Nicholas gave up a run tonight, but he went 2 1/3. Like, what are we doing with Nicholas right now?
What are we doing with most of our pitchers? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're trying to. So Brule did pitch tonight. He got 2 outs. I totally missed that. So I didn't even get to see him throw tonight. I totally missed that part. That's weird. Okay. We were at a game. We had 2 friends of our, actually, we had 2 friends coaching on each team of a game, and their kids were playing. And it was just like this one time, and it's, almost the end. I was like, let's go hang out. There's just tons of our friends there and people there. And it seemed like there were other people that decided to do the same thing. So like there was a lot of people there. We just got to hang out and then ice cream afterwards. So I'm just like pulling up the game when I could. I had bad service. So I was more or less following it. But just like pulling it up every once in a while when I could get the feed. So anyway, I totally missed Steve Brule or Justin Brule. Here we go. That's going to be a tough one for me, man.
BPPPI.
SSSSPPPP. Do I have the Steve Brule? I don't think I do on here. That would be, yeah, because I don't have anything like that. But if you guys don't know who Steve Brule is, then you're not getting any of this. But yeah, I think he's hilarious. It's what's his name? John C. Riley. John C. Riley's Steve Brule's hilarious. All right. It's June.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for Brian Reynolds to show up. Are you feeling that?
Yeah,
are you feeling like he is?
For sure.
What are we thinking? So, Jake, you haven't gotten... I know that you haven't read this. I did I wrote my monthly piece for Steel City Pirates, and it is about Brian Reynolds in June. And there's a lot of... I think we understand that he's got some really good Junes. That he's kind of like a hot player in June, right? Mm-hmm. And so I looked up some of the numbers from... So my piece is a trend line piece. I looked up the numbers from previous years to see, like, how did he trend going into June? How did he look in some of these months? And while May has been bad, like the underlying numbers, like he's like his barrels are up, his hard hit percentage is way up. So like there's a lot of things that really point towards like, okay, I think he's primed to kind of make it happen. And you can see that from the past and how he made some adjustments. And there were times that he was really good in April and then May kind of dipped and then went back up in June. I think the guy just likes June. But I see a lot in his numbers that show that I think you'd be all right to bet on him having a pretty decent month.
Yeah.
And if this offense gets going, like if you could get something from Cruz specifically, I think that only helps.
Yeah. It's just like in I think it was can't remember I think it was the first game, might have been the second game of the Dodgers series. We had, who would have been bad? Was it Suwinski maybe? Yeah. Was it? I can't remember. Somebody ended up on second. Kutch works a walk, and then first pitch, just Reynolds single up the middle, scores a run. Yeah. Like Reynolds does, ho hum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you saw a little bit of it in this series. I mean, it wasn't all good, but he had a couple hard hit balls today, and then he had 2 RBIs. I think that's the one you're talking about in the Skenes game. And
that's the one. 2 Suwinski hits. Laid down the bunt.
Really?
Suwinski bunted the guy to second.
Yes.
Because he was batting ninth that game. He bunted. Can't think of his name. Was it Triolo? Bunted, I think Triolo up to second. McCutcheon worked a walk, and then base hit up the middle, scores.
Yes,
Triolo.
Yep.
There's a nice little sequence there, and that's something that this team needs to do a little bit more of. Not a ton. I'm not like bunt. Like, no, but sometimes you're in a tight game or you're lefty on lefty, tough matchup. Let's bunt the guy over. Let's play a little bit of small ball here and there. It's a kind of like a little bit of a downplayed art, but it's effective when executed.
Yeah. I saw good signs from the offense in general. We have been seeing good signs from the offense, and so maybe there's some more here. Maybe there's some more to show that this team is going to begin kind of clicking on the offensive side in a way. Mm-hmm. And even in a game where it looked like they were out of it early on, they came back and tied it, and then the Dodgers put up 6, and the Pirates really didn't stop. They got a couple more runs after that. And I don't know. Let me see. What'd they do? The 6-run inning, they got another inning. And I guess it wasn't until the 8th inning. They got the 3-run homer. But still like 14 hits. You know what I'm saying? Like they still seem to scratch and claw. And like I said, there was maybe parts of this game that I didn't see that weren't as strong, but it seems like they just wouldn't. They're not going away. And
they made it respectable,
right? And I think that you see that a lot in the second game of the series with Skenes. You put up a big inning, you knock 7 runs, 7th inning or 2nd inning, I mean, and then I remember saying like, "This is the Dodgers." I understand Skenes is on the mound, but you saw the pitch count. You knew he was only going to probably get through 5. And you just kind of had that feeling like that we got to go 4 innings with this bullpen right now. And this is the Dodgers. I don't care who you send out there. And they started to chip away, but the Pirates didn't settle with the 7. The 7 would have won it, by the way. It still would have been a win. But they were able to tack on a little bit. And that's something that this team, we haven't seen them do very much throughout this whole stretch of bad baseball. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Bad hitting. We've seen that even when they score runs, they don't tack on. It's 1 inning. If you got 3 that inning, it's like, well, we got to win with 3. If you got 4 or 5, the bullpen can't falter. And they have been.
Right.
So I don't know. I think maybe you'll start to see some things like that. Start to see the way that they can go through that. I mean, we still have Nick Gonzalez has been absolutely huge for this team.
Oh, yeah.
But we still have, situations. We don't know what we're getting from Henry Davis yet. We need to see more. Was he down there long enough to fix whatever there was? I mean, he seems to be a little bit more on time with the fastball. I think that was to me, it was the fastball. It was the fastball. Even in spring training, we all didn't realize it until after, right? But we went back and looked, and it was like the fastball was even bad in spring training. and then you had Suwinski, who went and changed everything, just trying not to strike out. And it's like, bro, strike out. Go be Jack from last year. That's the guy we need. And it seems like they said, go back to AAA and be yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was there long enough to do that, but maybe we'll start to see some production from Jack Suwinski the way we did last year, which in my opinion is just fine. I am not one of these guys that, I think he could still take a step forward this year. That'd be great. But I'm going to take 26 homers. You know what I'm saying? Like this team needs that. And I understand he's streaky and whatever. If he could just do it in better moments, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're a clutch guy and you can knock 26 homers that help the team win games, then I'm all about it.
Yeah.
From Jack. So go back to being that guy. I don't care if your strikeouts are dipping close to 30%. I don't want my whole team doing that by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't mind if I've got a guy doing that. if he's going
Right.
to also do damage. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
you can talk about Nick Gonzalez. I mean, how great he's been. I mean, the strikeouts are still there,
Yeah.
but are you going to argue what he's doing right now? Is
No,
he
I'm
is he the
not.
MLB leader in RBIs since he was called up still? I mean, but I know how he can't be. He's only had 2 RBIs every game this series. Feels like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I don't have a problem with that. I'm old school enough to hate strikeouts, right? I understand that.
Yeah.
But I also understand that like that just because the strikeouts are there doesn't mean the player's bad. You
Right.
can be good.
Mhm.
I hate when the whole team's like that because then I feel like you can't do anything.
Yeah, you can never seem to piece things together.
Right. Then your hits aren't going to matter unless there's guys on. Like you need to get guys on. Of course, you're not getting guys on if you're grounding out the second either. So what's the difference between grounding out the second and striking out? Nothing. There's nothing. There's no difference between grounding out the second and striking out. Unless there's a guy at second. Now there's a difference.
Yeah.
But we need
Right.
guys on. All right. I think that's everything before we want to get into Ben Sherrington's comments this week because they seem to have been kind of taken all different kinds of ways. Right? And we've seen it. It's very easy to be critical of GM speak. It's very easy to be critical of a GM who's done nothing but lose since he's came to your organization. We can all sit here and say, well, yeah, it's a rebuild. Like that's the way it goes. But it's fair. They've only lost.
Yeah.
It's very easy to also give a GM a pass at times because of the fact that like that's how GMs talk.
Right.
But essentially, Ben Sherrington said that this team's better than they were last year. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to talk about that. We want to give our 2 cents in the situation. And if you are in the chat, feel free to give your 2 cents and put it up so we can get some more thoughts on this. I'm going to pull up. Gary wrote something about this on SteelCityPirates.com. And he's got the quotes on here. So I'm going to go with the quotes that he's got on here. And it starts with, and this is as much as Gary says in the article too, we think we're better than we were at this point last year. And he says, if you stop there, fair, criticize all you want. Because if that's what you heard. Because what you can say is, we're better than we were at this point last year. You may think, well, let me look at the win-loss record. Right?
Mm-hmm.
However, he says after that, whatever the record is, whatever the standings were, we think we're a deeper team, and we think we'll continue to get better over the course of 2024. He's not saying we've been better than we were last year. He's saying that this team, this group of individuals, this group of players that they have there now is a better group than the group that was there last year at this time. And quite frankly, I don't have an argument. I've been saying that. Wait, I think you've been saying that.
Yeah.
I do think heavily that Skenes and Jones matter in that conversation. I do think that Bailey Falter is a 100% different player.
Yeah.
I think that, Mitch Keller, right? I think that's a wash. But I think that when you also say that, like any of these players who are these players, who were there last year, who are there this year. So let's say Jack Suwinski is a good example. Because Jack Suwinski has not been as good this year as he was last year. But he's still Jack Suwinski. And he's not talking about how well Jack Suwinski has performed. He's talking about the fact that Jack Suwinski is on the roster. So that's even. That's the same guy.
It's a wash.
It's a wash.
Reynolds is a wash.
Reynolds is a wash. I don't care that maybe his numbers might have been better last year. And by the way, what happened to Reynolds, it skyrocketed early, right? And then all of a sudden, he's hurt. And he misses a bunch of games in June and into July. And he really didn't get right until August last year.
Yeah.
And so we saw that. Sure, he went off on a tear early, but in the rest of his career, he doesn't go off on a tear early, and he goes off on a tear in June. So maybe we're better off for this version at this juncture. But in my opinion, I think this is definitely a better team. You could even say that there are guys like Suwinski who are better because they're another year in. But that's awful hard for Suwinski because he's played so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things where like he should be better this year than he was last year, but it doesn't matter. He's talking about the individuals. He's talking about the players. He's talking about the roster. And I can't wrap my head around saying that this team is not better. I mean, you're cruiseless last year. You don't have O'Neal Cruz.
Right. And he's also talking about the major league team, too. He's not talking about the whole organization. I did notice,
Yeah.
Talking about deeper. We're talking about at the major league level, we're deeper.
No, I'd even go further. I think he's actually even... You're not wrong. Like, you're right. But he even said at one point... I'm looking for. I thought there was another quote. Maybe it was in. No, it wasn't in Mackey's article either. And he was pretty critical of it, and a lot of people have been. Either way, there was something else he said about the that they'll be getting more help as the year goes, even from the minor leagues. Remember? And now I can't find it. It was on another one that's not in this. Either way, he mentioned that, you know what I mean, and he mentioned that there's I mean, I would imagine, Peguero, but like. Think about the difference. I mean, Nick Gonzalez wasn't on the roster at this point. You know what I mean? And look at what he's doing now. Even if he was, he's so much better. Triolo wouldn't have been there at this time. And I know he's had his things, but like, I think a lot of people were high on Triolo. And I think that he still can be a really good player if he's played in the right role. Tellez obviously is an issue, right? And so when you look at the things, I mean, because we're talking GM talk.
Yeah.
And you're talking about, like, what did you do in the offseason to make this team better?
He's still pretty much a wash for Vogelback.
Was Vogelback last year? Why am I thinking, man, sometimes I get like this, like weird, like further away thing. I thought he was 2 years ago, but we'll find out. And was he on the roster? Yeah, he would have been on the roster. Yeah. No, he was 2022. Yeah, because we had Holderman like all of last year.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's do this. I mean, it's not going to tell us what the...
That's right. Last year was G-Man Choi, wasn't it?
And Carlos Santana. So, I mean, like, Santana obviously was better than Tellez when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And still is. And that's without question. Like, that's been a bad signing. We all know that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to think through, like... I mean, you can bet anyway that, like, Triolo's better than Tucapita. If you want to bet on that, you could bet on that.
I see what you did there.
Which we haven't talked about on here either, but that's okay.
That's fine.
Bye.
See ya.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Moron.
Way to, make yourself ineligible for the Hall of... Never mind.
Yeah. Castro would have been on this team, not Falter, right? So we, brought that up, but like Castro versus, anybody that you've got around right now. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of who was actually, because like there's a list, right? Hedges. But it's just the idea that like you now have a pitching staff. I mean, geez Louise, what did that look like? Rich Hill.
Grumpy old man.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Luis Ortiz was going, and Roansy Contreras were going through their stuff, and it felt like we don't have anything here. We brought up Osvaldo Bido. You know what I mean? Like if we get to Osvaldo Bido this year, that's going to be Braxton Ashcraft, which would be exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously Priester's better. Falter is better and is better than Rich Hill.
Yeah.
Now you would have had Vince Velasquez thrown well, but I think you can kind of offset that a little bit. You're still better off. You miss Oviedo, I get that, but he's still on the team, and I think that counts.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I know we're mostly talking about 2024.
Yeah.
I just think that there's more in this team. Like natural growth, and you're going through all of those things. I don't see how this team's worse.
Yeah,
I think this team has performed worse. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you see a team from last year who got off to an unbelievable start that nobody saw coming, and it puts them ahead of the game right away.
True.
For this year.
That's true.
You're just seeing guys, the potential. What you said, Jack Suwinski's still Jack Suwinski. The potential's still there.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not playing well this year. That happens. People have bad years. It's very unfortunate that we have like quite a few having a bad year right now. It's frustrating for sure, and you want to sit back and say, we're terrible this year. We're such a worse team. But we're really, like, the personnel that's in place is not worse.
No.
They're just not, like you said, they're just not performing well.
Right. Well, and it goes back to another comment that Sherrington made last year. If you remember, there was, and I would have criticized this as well because I just don't think that it was right, but he said that essentially they've outplayed their projections or something like that in saying like, yeah, we understand we started real hot, but we don't think we're the team to go out and add pieces to and actually make a run, which was really like, it's kind of crappy, right? But it was the fact that like they have their internal projections where they say, we know that our projection has us here. And this whole offseason, man, we just complained saying, why aren't you getting these starting pitchers? And Ben's basically sitting on it saying like, because I think we're good. And we're like, that's dumb. And then now we look at what we're doing right now and you're like, okay. Now, part of this is it's working out. Bailey Falter is working out, right? He could have just as easily had a 5.59 ERA to this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they've liked him. I said he shouldn't even be on the roster. And look what he's done.
And we both said that in spring training.
They've been patient. And
this just goes to show how much more they see than we can ever imagine.
Right.
Because we're not at practice. We're not at the bullpens. We're not at any of this stuff that they're evaluating. We just see them throw in the games. So all we get to see is results.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this thing up, but I lost my train of thought, Jake.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I guess I want to comment on kind of my attitude about the whole thing, right? Because we can come in here a lot and the Pirates could lose 5 of 6. And you and I come in and we can talk about maybe not the games, but we're talking about something and maybe what we're seeing, and maybe we're a little lighthearted about it. We see a lot of, like, I don't know. I'm trying to be lighthearted about this. We see a lot of grumpy people when the Pirates are losing. and whether or not it's really exciting when they're winning, like the last 2 days were just electric. Everybody was pumped. Everybody was excited. Look what we're doing to the Dodgers. We're going to sweep them tomorrow, and, you know, whatever else. But, like, we are lighthearted a lot of times, even when this team's doing bad. And, you know, we're a little bit different on the spectrum of where we were at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. But, like, I'm sitting here saying, at the beginning of this year, if you go back and listen to our preseason stuff, I made a pick saying that I thought that when I looked at this roster and I looked at the teams, now I'm wrong about which teams are there, but looked at the teams against us and looked around the league, and I said, I think this team's probably going to win 78 games. Right? And that would put them in a place where they've won 6 less games than they lost. Right? Now, you were the opposite. You were flipped completely, right? You were 84 and 78. Did you say 84 or 83?
I don't remember.
Either way, you should remember that. I'm just anyway, the thing is like when I look at that, so for me, I'm looking at this team. I believe that this team is going to get better because I think that they're underperforming offensively, even to their standards. And so if I look forward and think that this team's going to be better, and they're 4 now after tonight's loss, they've won 4 less games. So I'm kind of right on pace. Not that I want to be right. We just talked about that, me and Gary, about not wanting to be right all the time and just wanting your team to win. And that's where I'm at. Like I'm not trying to be right. I don't want them to win. I want them to win the 84. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I guess my point in saying this is saying that at the beginning of the year, I wasn't upset about 78 either. Right?
Yeah.
I thought that they would have meaningful growth. There will be struggles. And I actually thought most of it was going to be early on because of starting pitching. So like I said, I'm wrong about the way that it's happened. But I thought that there would be meaningful growth towards 8. I thought that last year's 76 was a little better than what I thought. So I thought moving to 78 with some growing pains, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that would have been acceptable. And I even said, like, I thought maybe they could push it a little bit more if it's not as bad as I think. You know what I mean? And so, like, for me, I'm looking at somewhere between 78 and a 500 ball club, and I'm going to be satisfied with that. And everybody's complaint is year 5. And I'm thinking, yeah, year 5, you're going to be right around 500.
Yeah.
It's always been 2025. When we started this podcast, it was 2025. It hasn't changed. That's the blueprint. That's the Astros. That's the Orioles. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's been the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that you're seeing now there's a good team on the field who's going to be playing competitive baseball. That doesn't mean you plan on winning the World Series. It means you're competing day in and day out. There will be games that you'll get blown up, whatever, but you will, on more times than not, you're going to be playing competitive baseball. We just played 3 competitive games, even today, 3 competitive games against the Los Angeles, in Alana Rizzo's words, the Los Angeles frickin' Dodgers. Right? The almighty. But, like, those were competitive games.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you're seeing from this team. You got anything?
Yeah.
You good? You got it? Go for it, man.
So I'm going to change gears just a tiny bit here.
Yeah, wrap. Yep.
My mom and dad come down here to visit for a while this past week, which was a great visit. Dad and I got a chance to go to the World War II Museum in New Orleans. Cool exhibit. It's awesome. Today is the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. I learned that our grandfather actually, not the original invasion of Normandy, but he stormed the beaches of Normandy. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. It's just walking around and getting to see all that stuff. It's a really cool thing. If anybody ever has a chance to go to New Orleans, take a day, go walk through that. It's a really cool place. And they have really good food. Random note. Then a really nice, like a restaurant inside that was good. So there's that too. But no, I mean, just cool stuff.
Yeah.
Good visit with family members getting to come down here, and they get to come down about once a year. So
yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's all we have then. I got to start the music. I didn't even start the music here.
Yeah, cue it up, man.
Cue it up, man. So a little bit longer than a typical Friday episode. Oh, wait.
Friday.
a little longer,
Hawaiian
but
shirt day.
Jake wasn't here on Sunday, so we thought we'd have a little fun with it, and I just said let it be what it is. So
yeah,
late night bucking here, 11:30 at night. Let's get out of here. Let's go Bucs.
Let's go Bucs.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks.